when you're trying to determine what a particular drug is, do you use chemicals? Do you mix chemicals together to determine that? How do you determine that?
It depends on the drug. In this case,
Well, let's just say, for example, in cocaine. What would you do for cocaine?
For cocaine, I would dissolve it in something called ethanol, because it is soluble in that.
Okay, so you would say if it's a powdered substance, you would put it in a watery substance?
Ethanol is like an alcohol.
Okay, and what are you looking for when you do that?
That is just to dissolve the drug in a matrix that we can work with, so we can perform our other tests.
Okay, so you need to get the powder form into a liquid form.
Yes.
Okay, and then what do you do next?
I perform a preliminary examination.
Okay, and when you do that, what are you doing?
I am trying to narrow down what it could be, so I'm trying to get an idea of what drug class, if you may, that it contains.
Okay, are you running this substance through some sort of instrument, or are you looking at it under a microscope? What are you doing
with the preliminary examinations? Yes. It depends. We have several ways to perform a preliminary examination. For cocaine, and for example, I would do what is called a thin layer chromatography, which is not an instrument, but it's a separation technique. So if I have a mixture, let's say cocaine is mixed with something else, this, depending on the physical and chemical characteristics of cocaine or whatever substance is in it, will separate in thin layer chromatography.
Now, once you go through, say, an examination and an analysis, and you come up with a conclusion, are your results or any other crime lab results, are they reviewed by someone else?
Yes, all of our...
And what is that process called?
All of our results and all of our reports are peer-reviewed by another scientist.
Okay. And when you peer review someone else's work, what exactly are you doing?
We are looking at their data, the data produced by all preliminary examinations and confirmatory examinations. We are making sure that they follow all of our GBI policies, and we have to come to the same conclusion, and then we would release a report. But if we disagree that not all policies were followed, that I do not agree with your conclusion, we would reject the result.
Okay. And when you're looking at someone else's data, when you talk about data, what are you referring to?
Like I already spoke about, thin layer chromatography, that is a plate, and they take a picture of this plate. And then for our confirmatory tests, they usually run on instruments, and there's a printout of the results, and we are viewing that.
And in this case involving cocaine that was examined at the crime lab, did you perform a peer review of anyone?
I performed the peer review of the report and the data.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I see Exhibit 726. showing what's already been tendered in evidence, State's Exhibit 26. And one of the items was preliminarily identified as cocaine. Do you recall if this particular item was tested by anyone in your client?
The reporter received stated that Amber Sloan tested the item positively identified as cocaine.
Okay. And when you learned that she had already identified this item, did you do a peer review of her analysis and her work?
I was asked to do a peer review or reassessment of her data and report.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you come to your own conclusion as to what the substance was based on reviewing that data and your personal involvement in the peer review?
Evaluating the data found in the case file, I concluded that the result on the original report was correct.
And did you review that original report as well?
Yes, I did.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 734. And looking at State's Exhibit 734, is this the report you reviewed?
Yes, it is.
And does it fairly accurately reflect those results that you peer reviewed?
The data that I reviewed, yes, it does.
And did you, looking at this report and the conclusions, did you arrive at the same conclusion independent of her conclusion?
Evaluating her data, yes, I did come up with the same result.
Your Honor, the statements is under State's Exhibit 734.
No, sir, Your Honor. Yes, the only thing I would object to is going back with the jury because it's continuing testimony. But I do have no other objection.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Just briefly. Afternoon, Ms. Menendez.
Menendez,
Okay, afternoon, ma'am.
afternoon.
Okay, you said you did a report for Ms. Elmer Sloan.
I reassessed her data.
Okay, did she originally do a report on this case on 8/29/2011, ma'am?
That is what her report says, yes.
Okay, why did you have to take her place? What happened here?
Ms. Ms. Sloan no longer works at GBI.
What happened? Why does she no longer work there?
I do not know.
Went on disciplinary reports and nothing like that, was it?
I do not believe so.
You believe so, you know so?
I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you examined her work and to see if she done it the right way?
I examined the data in this case.
Did they spare her or fire her for doing something illegal with tests or anything like that?
I do not know.
Is that why they asked you to go over her work because she might have been doing something that she hadn't been doing?
I do not know that.
Did she say they had any fingerprints of Jamie Hood that said there was cocaine in that car?
Excuse me?
Did they have any fingerprints belonging to Jamie Hood, me, saying there was my cocaine in that car?
I only do drug identification, so I do not know if any evidence or fingerprints were submitted.
Do you know of any fingerprints pertaining to Jamie Hood as far as the cocaine?
I cannot answer that question. I only work under the drug identification section. That is another section in our agency.
Okay, no further questions, ma'am. Thank you.
Just one follow-up question. I just want to clarify something. This idea of peer review, is that always done in every case?
Peer review is done in every case.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with whether you think somebody is messing up or not. It's just a quality control type of procedure that's in place.
That is correct. All of our cases are peer reviewed before they are released.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
No, sir.
plead Hood, Your Honor?
Was it a sneeze? I didn't even hear it. You're allowed to sneeze.
Ma'am, before you sit down, I'm just going to ask you to raise your right hand for me, would you? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Will you please have a seat? And if you could kind of pull towards that microphone, state your name and spell your name for the record.
Azalea Hood, A-Z-A-L-E-E. Hood, H-O-O-D.
And you're at a good distance there, so I think I'll be able to hear you just fine from that distance. And Ms. Hood, do you know the defendant, Jamie Donnell Hood?
Yes, I do.
And how do you know him?
He's my son.
Okay. And back in March of 2011, where were you living?
100 Granite Road, Winterville.
And approximately how long did you live at that address, 100 Granite Road in Winterville?
I'm gonna say about 16, 17, maybe 18 years.
And I just need you to speak a little bit louder, okay?
16 to 18 years, a little more.
And before you lived at 100 Granite Road, where did you live?
Before I moved to Granite Road, we was in Hallmark Trailer Park and from Park Avenue from Elmerton.
Okay. How long were you and your family in Athens, Georgia?
Let me see. Over 20-something years.
Okay. Is that primarily where your son Jamie Hood grew up?
Yes, a little bit. Jamie about 6, maybe 7 when we moved.
Okay. So did he basically attend all of his elementary school years in Clark County?
Almost.
Okay. And then his middle school years, were those also here in Clark County?
Yes.
And then did he go to Cedar Shoals High School here in Clark County?
Yes.
Okay. Back on March 22nd of 2011, do you recall who was living with you at 100 Granite Road?
Yes.
Who was living with you?
Robert, my husband, Stephen, my son, and Nigeria, my granddaughter,
Okay.
and myself.
Do you recall where your son Jimmy Hood was living?
I think that's Sycamore.
When you say Sycamore, you're referring to Sycamore Drive?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you have another son that was living over there?
Yes, Stephen.
Okay. Did your son Stephen Hood and your son Jimmy Hood live together, or did they live in separate apartments?
Separate apartment.
But both up Sycamore Drive?
Yes.
And back on March 22nd of 2011, do you recall what you did that day?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna go back to that night, that evening.
When you say you're going to the evening, do you mean the evening before March 22nd?
Yes.
Okay, so the evening of March 21st would have been a Monday, does that sound right?
Jamie had to put a tag light on my vehicle. Stephen had got a ticket, and they said if we bring proof that he had fixed it, they would dismiss the ticket.
Okay. So on March 21st, 2011, your son Jamie Hood came up to your house to fix a tag light,
Yes.
and did you have to go somewhere the next morning because of that tag light?
Yes, I got up. Nigeria got on the bus. We left there and went to the courthouse.
When you say we left out, who are you referring to?
Stephen, Robert, myself, and we took Nigeria to school.
Okay. When you left the house, was anyone out the house?
When nobody at the house when we left.
Okay. And so you said that you had to go to the courthouse?
Yeah, we had to go to the courthouse. We left the courthouse, went to one of the little courthouse, and then we left there and went to the license plate, state patrol.
When we say the state patrol place, do you mean out on?
Georgia
out-
State Patrol.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you mean the Georgia State Patrol office out on 129?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you
Stephen got his license reinstated, then we went back to the courthouse, showed them. Then he had an appointment at Advantage at 11, we went there.
Yes. So let me just make sure I understand. You had a court date on the morning of March 22nd, 2011, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I need you to answer yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. And you left from there to go to the Georgia State Patrol to deal with an issue with Stephen's license.
Right,
Then you had to go back to the courthouse to show what you had done at the Georgia State Patrol.
yes,
And then from there, you went where?
to Advantage.
And why did you go to Advantage?
Stephen had an appointment,
And do you remember what time that was?
11 o'clock.
Okay, 11 o'clock that morning?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do after the appointment?
Well, we dropped Stephen off, and I went to the Golden Pantry. I always go there and talk to Christine every day.
Okay. And Golden Pantry, which Golden Pantry are you talking about?
East Broad,
The one on East Broad Street?
yes.
And do you know what street that's near off the Atlanta Highway there on East Broad Street? That Golden Pantry?
Well, you got all those on, all those on across the street probably.
And let me see if I can make sure I understand which one you're talking about. If you're leaving downtown and heading west,
Mhm.
would you be heading in the direction towards Sycamore?
Yes,
And would there be a Golden Pantry, which side of the street would it be on?
right,
On the right-hand side. Would that be before you got to the Alps area, where they have Hawthorne and Alps?
before that.
Okay, so it's between downtown and Alps, is that
Yeah, you
fair?
got two Golden Pantry on that road.
That's right, I just want to make sure. Talking about the first one?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do at the Golden Pantry?
Me and Christine talked, drank coffee, smoked cigarette, and played some lottery numbers.
Okay, and did anything happen while you were at the Golden Pantry?
Yes, brought me the phone and gave it to me, and it was Jamie.
Okay. And did you talk to your son Jamie Hood on the phone at that time?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do based on talking to him?
Talked to him, he told me to come down and went Broad and pick him up, he was walking.
And did you know why he was walking?
No, I didn't.
Did you go pick him up in the area of downtown Athens?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you get all the way to Lexington Road?
I got down there at that farmer's market. You know, that big building said farmer, but election keep straight across.
Okay.
And I back to the right, going there like toward the university.
Okay. So if I was in downtown heading towards Lexington Road, are you talking about the first right before you bear towards Lexington Road? That right, immediately preceding that by the university?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do when you took that right?
I went down the street and Jamie said, hey, here I am. So we turned around, pick him up, turn around, and he said, take me home.
Okay. And did Jamie Hood have a Cadillac at that time?
Yes.
Had you seen it the day before
Yeah, the day before, yeah.
when he came to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever tell you what happened to the Cadillac on March 22nd, 2011?
No, I asked the boy at Cowboy, he said, just take me home.
Okay. And when he said take you home, where did you start to take him?
Sycamore.
Okay. Did you make it all the way to Sycamore Drive?
No, I didn't. I met Matthew. We seen Matthew, and I blowed him at Applebee's. He turned in Applebee's. I turned in McDonald's. So Matthew came back down to McDonald's, and Jamie got out and said, well, you ain't got food with me now. And I can't pronounce her name, maybe, but I ain't gonna call her.
Is her name Kianka Williams? Is that the name you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about Kianka Williams. Where was she?
Kianka and Trey was in the vehicle with Matthew,
And when you say Matthew, who are you referring to?
my son.
Matthew Hood?
Yes.
And do you recall what kind of vehicle he was driving?
A red SUV.
Okay. And so Matthew Hood met you at the McDonald's on the Atlanta Highway?
Yeah, he turned at Applebee's, come back there and speak to McDonald's. And Jamie got out and went over there where he was. And he told Keandra, her and Trey to get out. So Matthew told me to take him to his house.
And when you say them, do you mean the Kianka Williams and the person named Trey?
Trey, yeah.
And where was Matthew's house? it, and Trey got out of Matthew's vehicle and got in your vehicle, is that right?
Right,
And then Jamie Hood got out of your vehicle and got into Matthew Hood's red SUV.
right.
Okay, and then what did you do at that point?
After I took them over there, Matthew said, take them on, I'll be right on.
Okay.
So as we got over there, they just sitting there. I told them, get out, cause I got something I got to do. I said, I'm not gonna wait on y'all, but I got to be at the house when need to get out. But
The McDonald's that you were at on the Atlanta Highway, how far away is that from Sycamore Drive?
nowhere, not that far.
Okay. Do you know how many lights there are between that McDonald's and Sycamore Drive? How many red lights?
Two, you turn at the second one, to Sycamore.
Okay. So you pass through one red light, and then the second one, you take that left to veer off down Sycamore?
Yes.
Okay. When you dropped off Kianko, Williams, and Trey at Rock Springs, where did you go after that?
Well, I was gonna come back and clean the refrigerator out at Stephen's apartment, cause some food had spoiled. And, we turned and, all I seen was a police officer pull over, pull on the side, said, don't move. And he said, can't nobody go down in there. He said, when that ambulance come out, y'all follow it.
Okay. And I just want to make sure I'm clear. You said that you're going to Stephen's apartment to clean out his refrigerator, is that right?
Right.
Was Stephen's apartment located on Sycamore Drive as well?
Yeah, then it, yeah.
Okay, and so when you tried to go to Sycamore Drive, there were police already there telling you you could not go down that road?
Yes, sir.
And the ambulance was already down there?
That's what they said.
And did you see the ambulance come back out of Sycamore Drive?
Yes, and I followed it. We turned around and went on out, and I went on home.
Okay. At that point, did agents from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations come talk to you at your home that night?
It was at night when we got home. There was a lot of police and thing around, so I knew the chief from Warnerville. So I went down there. I asked him what going on, and he said, "Jamie done shot the police." I said, "No." I said, "Cause we ain't been too long. Dropped him off."
Okay. And did you hear from Jimmy Hood that night, Tuesday, March 22nd, 2011, after you dropped him off at McDonald's?
No, I didn't.
Did you hear from him on Wednesday, March 23rd?
Nope.
How about March 24th, that Thursday?
No.
When did you finally hear from your son, Jamie Donnell Hood?
Jamie called me. It may have been that Friday or something. He said, "Mom, I'm gonna turn myself in." And he said, I said, "What?" He said, "I'm gonna turn myself in." He said, "I'm gonna call you back." But I'm gonna turn myself in so Miss Creasy can have some closure to bury her son.
Okay. And did agents come out to your house to take you to another location that evening?
Jamie called me back and told me some agent gonna be coming to pick me up, take me over to the police station. So I started over to the police station. We was on Beaver Dam Road, and at the dog pound, they stopped